health in general. And one of the key fundamental principles of health, one of the laws of health, is to breathe clean, fresh air. We know that if we were to be in a position where we were breathing in carbon dioxide, that's poison. If we're in a position where we're breathing in polluted air, we can poison ourselves from the inside out. So it's really, really important for us to breathe good, clean air, good oxygen. And it's important for us to learn how to use our lungs and lung capacity. Now, I've gone on about this quite a few times in the last few sessions, but the average person, by the time they've reached 50, has lost a percentage of lung capacity, and it's a significant percentage. It's actually 40%. By the time the average person turns 70, they've actually lost around about 60% of lung capacity. So if you think about how vital lungs are, and this is the interesting thing, it hit me actually just last week how vital breathing and breath work actually is to the sustaining of life. We need it. In fact, there's studies that tell us that we can go 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, H2O, and 3 weeks without food. That's the general average lifespan of a person. So the average person, it's 3 minutes without breath, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Now, some people are extraordinary and they can certainly go beyond that. So beyond those metrics that I've just given. But for the average person, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the rule of 3. 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks. So in light of that, when we think about nutrition for the body, when we think about health of the body, nothing, and I mean nothing, trumps oxygen. Nothing trumps air and breathing. The activity of breathing is so fundamental to life, it's a necessity. Deep sea divers must breathe. Even the people who can hold their breath the longest, they still need and require breath. We all do. Now, some people are tremendously advanced in their ability to slow their heart rate down to such a point where they need less breath and less oxygen. They're able to alkalize their body and their system, and they're able to go without breath for a period of time. And it's remarkable when people hold their breath for extended periods of time. It really is remarkable. So I want to talk to you some more about breathing and breath work, because we've only really scratched the surface, and we continue to just scratch the surface when we talk about this fundamental important principle. So if we think about all of the laws of health, the laws talking about nutrition and diet, the laws talking about sunlight and the need for sunlight, the laws that talk about exercise and your need to exercise, and inherent in exercise is actually oxygen, because we use a lot of oxygen whilst we're exercising. So if you think about it, oxygen is actually in a lot of the other laws. It's contained within every other law, every other principle of health, because air and breath is the most fundamental of all substances on the planet that we need for survival. And so we need breath. It's more important than anything. That's why when somebody goes into a pool, it's only a few minutes while they're face down in the water that panic sets in. Panic within the person, panic also from the onlookers. If we think about those lifeguards, they've really only got a few minutes to work with somebody to bring them back to life. Otherwise, they're gone. Like the brain can die. And once the brain's dead, there's no real bringing them back, because the brain is required to help the rest of the body function. So it's a fundamentally important thing for us to breathe and understand breath work. Now, the truth is that we don't have to think about breathing. You don't have to think about it. I don't have to think about it. It's unconscious. Breath work and breathing is an absolutely unconscious thing. It's like growing hair or growing fingernails. It's like our cells replicating themselves that happens automatically. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to go home and grow hair and fingernails. We don't have to cause our cells to replicate themselves. We don't need to do any of that consciously. This all happens below the level of conscious thought. So when we think about our nervous system, we have what's called an autonomic nervous system. And when I think of the autonomic nervous system, there's three components to it. The two that I mostly talk about and discuss in my seminars are the parasympathetic and sympathetic parts of the nervous system. So the parasympathetic part of the nervous system is our rest and digest, whereas the sympathetic part is our fight, flight. And there is another part as well. So realize that the autonomic nervous system, I like to think of it like the automatic nervous system because I don't have to think about it. It happens normally, it happens naturally. My body does what it needs to do without me having to consciously think about it. I don't need to plan. I don't need to prepare. I don't need to do anything. It just happens. And breathing and breath work is like that. It just happens. Now, is there a time where some people forget to breathe? I remember a mother and her child came over in such a distress that the mother listened for a moment and then the mother said this. The mother said, breathe. She said this to the child, breathe. You need to breathe because the child's face was red. The child was crying. All their energy and effort was in this dramatic scene. And they forgot to breathe. Now, let me ask you, have you ever forgotten to breathe? And it's true, we do. When we're in distress, when we're dealing with something, when we're uptight, we actually can forget to breathe. Not that we're forgetting to do it. It's just that our attention is so focused elsewhere that breathing becomes an optional thing. But the trouble is it's not optional. It's 3 minutes. 3 minutes and you become unalive. We don't want to do that. We want to continue surviving and continue thriving through life. So we can actually, not really forget to breathe, but we can use all our attention and energy focused elsewhere that the activity of breathing becomes less automatic, more robotic, or it just stops happening altogether. Like if a person is afraid, the person will seize up and likely not breathe. In fact, I've seen situations where people go, as white as snow, they change colour in that distress, and quite often they're not breathing. When women go into labour, sometimes they won't continue breathing. In fact, they'll hold their breath. They'll go into a level of distress, a high level of distress, and they're forgetting to breathe. And so I want to get this idea through to you that breathing is a fundamentally important thing. And yet, when in times of stress, when we're distracted, when we're heavily focused on something, when we're shocked, when we're dealing with extreme emotions, one of the first things that can go is that regularity of our breathing and breath work. And we're going to be really careful of that and conscious of that, aware of that. And what I like to do with the breathing exercises that I teach is help people to prepare for stressful situations in their life. You can prepare early by what I call pre-oxygenating. Now, I came up with this term simply because I do karate. I've been practicing karate for many years, and I would travel from where I live in Brisbane down to a place called Helensvale and do karate classes. And these karate classes would go for about an hour and a half. Now, these karate classes were not easy. They were not for the faint-hearted. They were difficult. They were hard. And quite often we would be pushed to our limits. And I found that I would push myself to my limits. In fact, I would seek to do the exercises, the kicks, the punches, the movements at a high level. And the more I strive to do these at a high level, the more I would wear out. Obviously, if you're doing something correctly, you're going to use more energy. And I was absolutely doing it correctly and putting in effort. And when you put in effort as well, yes, you're using more energy. And so I would find that after those classes, I would be quite exhausted. Now, as I started going to along to these classes and as I got better and better, more proficient, and as I started thinking more about this idea of breathing and breath work, I started pre-oxygenating on my way to class. Now, just so you're aware, my son Joseph was going for his provisional license in Australia. We have a learner license and a provisional license and then an open license. And a learner must drive with an adult in beside them. And they've increased the amount of hours and the amount of training for young drivers in Australia to 100 hours. And so that's 100 hours with a adult who's open licensed next to you. So 100 hours of driving. And I was thinking to myself, how on earth are we going to do that? And so I decided that Joseph would do all of the driving down to these classes, all the driving back both ways. And he started taking on that role. He got his 100 hours up. Now, while he was driving, well, I could just sit and relax, or I could sit and read something. I could have a conversation with Joseph, or I could practice my breath work. And so I started getting into this habit of pre-oxygenating, meaning that I would sit there on the trip down and I would start breathing. I'd breathe in and out. I would go fully in and out. I'd go fully in and out. And I would do this a number of times. I'd actually take 30 breaths. Now, in taking these 30 breaths in this way, I would find that I would become lightheaded. I would often get tingles in my fingers and my toes. It would change the physiology of my body, and it would create different sensations throughout my body. Now, after doing the 30 breaths, inhale, exhale, I would then hold my breath for as long as I could. Now, sometimes I reached a minute, sometimes I reached a minute and a half, and other times I made it all the way to 2 minutes and then sometimes beyond. My goal was always 2 minutes. And so I've set it up as a personal goal for myself that when I do my breath work, I seek to get to the 2 minute mark. That if I can hold my breath for 2 minutes, then I feel like my lung capacity is not decreasing. In fact, it's an expansion. It's maintenance. It's doing my lungs good. It's showing myself consciously that I can do a difficult thing, a very difficult thing, hold my breath for 2 minutes to show that I'm proficient with my lung capacity and my breath work. And so I have that as a goal for myself. And so I'd encourage you to think about, what would you want to set up for your goal? And if you want to, just take on the 2 minutes. It's difficult, let me tell you, it's not for the faint-hearted. It is a challenge to get to that 2 minute mark, yet it's possible. You can do it. I know because I do it quite regularly. And so what I would do is I'd travel down to these activities. I'd breathe in and out 30 times. Then after the exhale, I would hold my breath. Now, what I love about breath work and breathing, and this is something that I learned from Wim Hof. Wim Hof is a wonderful advocate for breath and breath work. He goes and uses the cold, and he can cause his body to fight off disease and withstand cold temperatures and do all of these amazing things just by maintaining control of his breath. That as he takes full control of his breath, he takes full control of his entire body. So the idea is we want to breathe in and breathe out proficiently. We want to make sure that we're filling our lungs with as much oxygen as we can get. Like I said before, oxygen, 3 minutes. Average person, 3 minutes, you become unalived. The average person, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Oxygen is the most vital substance that we have that's on the planet. This is necessity for life, is contained within every breath. And so breathing in and out isn't just a good idea, it's essential if you want great health. And so I would breathe in and breathe out. Now you'll notice as I breathe in, something you'll notice readily is my shoulders aren't moving. Now some people, when they first start doing breath work, they start breathing in and their shoulders come up to their ears. Now, that's an incorrect method of breathing. And the reason being that every time your shoulders move, you are shortening your diaphragm. Your shoulders come up, your diaphragm comes up, which means that your lungs are compacted. Your lungs cannot expand the way they need to. And so my encouragement is to do belly breathing. So what we do is we breathe in and we push the stomach out. We keep the shoulders in place and we practice breathing with a technique called diaphragmic breathing or belly breathing. Just think of it as belly breathing. The belly goes out just the way that a baby breathes. When you see a baby, a newborn, the baby, the shoulders and the arms don't move. The belly does. When a baby's sleeping, all you're seeing is belly, belly. In fact, when you and I sleep, we actually breathe better than when we're awake. When we're dealing with stress, when we're dealing with the challenges that face us every day, our breath work can become shallow. Our breathing becomes shallow. And a lot of people in the world today are shallow breathers or chest breathers. And the trouble with being a shallow breather and chest breather is you're not expanding your lungs. And the trouble is you're not going to have the energy that you want. You're not going to have the longevity that you want. You're not going to have the mobility that you want because breath, think of it this way. Think of breath being important, not just for your lungs, not just for the cells of your body, but for the joints, for the sinews, for the skin, for every part of your body, every single part of you. So you are made up of cells. So going down to the fundamental building block of your body, it is a cell. We're born with 12 to 1400 brain cells. Throughout our body, though, it's somewhere between 70 to 100 trillion cells. You and I have eye cells, we have skin cells, we have blood cells that move through our body, we have liver, lung, kidney cells, heart cells. We've got cells all throughout our body. You're a collection of cells. Even your bones contain cells. So think of your entire body as a collection of cells. And every one of those cells requires oxygen. So when you think about oxygen, oxygen goes down to the most minute part of you, which is the cell. And that cell requires oxygen to create energy. Now, why does the cell need energy? Well, the cell needs to do a number of things. One, the cells need to replicate themselves. Healthy, high-functioning cells don't live forever. They live for a period of time and then they become unalived. And so what happens is each cell in your body needs to replicate itself. And that's what we do through life. And that's why we need to change our clothes and change our sheets. That's why we have showers. It's not just because we're getting dirty from the grit around us and the dirt outside. It's because of the cells. They're dying. Skin cells die. And we need to wash them off. And so we scrub with soap and we get those off us. Now realize this, that in order for that cell to replicate itself, it needs energy. It requires energy. It must have it. Without energy, there's no life in the cell. There's no ability for that cell to replicate itself. Now, the other thing the cells need is the ability to function that which they were created to function. For example, if you're a muscle cell, then the muscle needs to contract and then release. Contract and then release. If you've got bones and muscles and sinews and all parts of these working together, like for example in a run, we're running or jumping, then we're doing the same thing. We're contracting and relaxing. As our foot hits the ground, the muscles contract, the muscles then push off, giving us propulsion, and then the muscles relax. And it's this constant motion that is created. And a lot of people say, you need to relax more when you run. Like, don't run so uptight, relax. And that's the idea. You want to get your body to go through that tension and also the relaxation. That's what muscle cells are designed to do. Other cells give the body energy. So some cells, they have just enough energy to replicate themselves. Other cells need to provide energy for the different organs, the different parts of the body, provide energy throughout the body for whatever needs it. So think about the cells of your body storing and creating energy for whatever happens, whatever comes. Like if you go for a run up the hill, it's not just the muscle cells that are going to provide that energy, it's also the other cells in your body, including the fat cells. So fat cells store glucose in the form of glycagon, and that then creates more energy in the body. And we can actually use that fat and those fat reserves to create more energy. So the glycagon turns back into glucose, goes into the cells, gives us energy, and off we go. So we need energy in our cells. As you breathe, then we're using the respiratory system to take that oxygen into the circulatory system, and that's when the blood picks it up. And then the blood is the highway of your life. That highway system transports, it's a transporter, you could say, it's the river of your life. It transports not only nutrients, but it also transports oxygen to all the cells of your body. And then that oxygen is fed into those cells so that your cells can create more energy. Now, just so you're aware of how much energy is created through oxygen. Well, first of all, as glucose comes into the cell, then what happens is it mixes with water. Glucose and water mix together, and there's an 8-step process there which gives you 2 units of energy. So an 8-step process produces 2 units of energy. And this creates a form of energy called pyruvate. Pyruvate then mixes with oxygen, goes through a 20-step pathway and produces a whopping 32 units of energy. So I just want you to consider for a moment how much energy you're getting from oxygen. And a lot of people don't understand this. They don't realize how powerful and beneficial oxygen is. Oxygen is everything. Oxygen is health. Oxygen is vitality. Oxygen is fitness. Oxygen is everything. And so if you have oxygen coming in at a high level, then what you're doing is every one of those cells that has that 2 units of energy sitting there in the form of energy called pyruvate is able to mix with oxygen and produce from 2 units into 32 units. Like we're not just talking double, we're not talking quadruple, we're talking, what is that, like 20 times more energy. You know, we double it, then double it, then double it. It's an exponential increase of energy from 2 all the way to 32. And so if you need lots of energy, the way to get energy is not through making sure you're hydrated and eating nutrition, although that helps. That gets the starting process. But then the biggest boost of energy is oxygen. So if you're doing the right things as far as eating well, if you're doing the right things as far as ensuring that you've got adequate hydration, you're getting enough water, then don't disregard oxygen. You need oxygen, and you need it at a great level. We need more oxygen. We need to keep our lung capacity up. We need to keep our lungs expanding throughout our life. Otherwise, we lose lung capacity. So think about how important it is to have lung capacity. Hello, Sahara. How are you? And I want to say hi to San as well. San, if you have any questions, I see you there on TikTok, then you can ask those questions. Sahara, you've just come into a breathwork session. I'm just explaining the benefits of breathwork. And now that I've explained the benefits, we're going to do a little process of breathwork. So you're actually here in the right time, at the right time. So welcome to this part, because what we're going to move into is a little exercise with breathing. And so I'm going to ask you now to take a nice deep breath in and then a deep breath out. What we're going to do is we're going to ensure that we're filling up our lungs with oxygen. And the way we do this is we make sure our shoulders don't move, they don't lift and come up. We ensure we're doing what's called belly breathing. Our belly goes out. We're filling up our belly with air. We're doing what's called diaphragmic breathing, which is causing our diaphragm to elongate and stretch. Rather than like many people do when they breathe deeply, take a deep breath, they bring their shoulders up to their ears. And the trouble is that shortens the diaphragm and that disables or doesn't enable a person to get the breath that they need. All right, so let's go ahead and do this exercise. So we're going to take a deep breath in and then we're going to exhale. And I'll do this process with you and I'll guide you through it. So fully in and out. 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 That's 5. Fully in and out. 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 And hold. And fully in and hold. And breathing normally again. Woo! Wow, how'd you go? So what we did, we just did a 30-second breath hold. We breathed in and out 10 times. So as deeply in, fully out 10 times. We then held our breath for 30 seconds. And so if you did that, that's wonderful. Sahara, how did you go? San, how did you go? Just type in the chat if you'd like to let me know how you went. How did you go with that breath hold? Were you able to succeed and get that 30-second breath hold? And that was only with 10 breaths. We're going to move into round 2 now. We're going to do the same thing. So I'll just go over it quickly, just briefly. We go in and out 10 times. Then we breathe out on the 10th breath. We then pause and hold for 30 seconds. We then breathe in and hold for 15 seconds. And when you breathe in, try to send it to your brain and you'll find that there will be a euphoric feeling that you will have. You'll get this sensation in your body. It's incredible. It's called, in the breathing world, getting high off your own supply. So let's go ahead and do that together. We're going to do another breath. This is round 2. So fully in, out. Fully in, out. Fully in, out. Fully in, out. Fully in. Remember, don't move your shoulders. Fully in, fully in, out. Fully in, out. Last one, fully in, out. Fully in. And breathing normally again. Woo! Wow. How did you go? And did you feel that? Did you get that euphoric feeling? That feeling of like, wow. It's incredible. When you get this feeling, it's amazing. And it works. This is something that I've been doing now for 10 years, doing these breathing exercises. And I tell you what, the feeling just keeps happening. So those of you who are addicted to dopamine and other things, do breathing. This can absolutely change the biochemistry of your body. It can absolutely put you in a good state of mind and emotion. It can absolutely have an effect on the way you think and feel about yourself and also progress you make in life. So really think about breathing and making breath work a part of your life.
This call is being recorded.
So let's move into round 3 now. So moving into round 3, we're going to take a deep breath in and out. We're going to do 10 times. We're going to then, after the exhale, hold for 30, let's do 40 seconds. Should we do 40 seconds? Yeah, let's do 40. Let's really push ourselves another 10 seconds. And then we're going to hold our breath after the exhale. We exhale, hold our breath, and then we breathe in. And we're going to breathe in this time for 15 seconds. Oh, sorry, just breathe in and hold for 15 seconds. Okay, so let's go. We'll do 10 breaths, hold for 40, breathe in, hold for 15. Let's go. Breathe in. Fully 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 in. Hold. Fully in. And breathing normally again. Ooh, that was a 40-second breath hold, not a 40-minute, 40-second breath hold. So well done. How did you go, Sahara? Were you able to get that happening? Did it work? If it did work, that's wonderful. Now, that's the formal part of the session. That's the exercise. We've now done that 3 times. We did 2 30-second breath holds, 1 40-second breath hold. I was using the word minute instead of breaths. It feels like 40 minutes, let me tell you, but it was 40 seconds. So we've now done that part of it. I just wanted to re-emphasize now that if you prehydrate, if you breathe deeply, if you make this a daily practice, if you do this while you're watching TV, if you do this while you're driving a vehicle, not the breath holding for sure, but the actual breathing, if you practice deep breathing, belly breathing 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day, if you do that, your lungs, as you age, will maintain their capacity. And there's even a opportunity for you to reverse any lung conditions or to expand the ability for you to breathe in. Like if you take your lungs and would just stretch them out flat, every one of the, you could say the bronchioles, which is the little sacs at the bottom of your lungs, if you were to open them all up and stretch them out, it's been said that they'd actually be about almost the size of a field. So think about that, like maybe a football field or something along those lines, tennis court or even bigger. And so just think about that. That's your lungs. And here we have this ability to breathe in, and so that our lungs are able to take that oxygen, take it, put it into the bloodstream, get the carbon dioxide out of the bloodstream, and as we exhale, we push that out. So we're in with the good, out with the bad. The more oxygen that you get into your cells, the more energy you can produce, the healthier you'll be, the more ability you'll have to improve your energy, your mobility, your longevity, and you'll have ability to have more positivity in your world, in your life, because not only is it going to affect you physiologically, but also psychologically, emotionally, and in all other ways. So this is Breathing 101. It's basic. It's something that we all do, and yet quite often we don't do it properly. We need help to ensure that we breathe properly, we breathe adequately, that we get all the breath that we need to maintain optimal health. So thank you very much for coming along. Thanks for being here at this session. Sahara, is there any questions that you have about breathing or breath work or about health in general? If there is, I'd love to know. And if you'd like to know about the program that I run, there is a program that I run. It's a 2-day health course, 2-day health seminar coming up. It'll be happening in a month or so, about 6 weeks' time. I've got a 2-day seminar. I'd love you to be part of that. There is a fee involved. It's a $2,000 program to come along to the course. I'll be talking about exercise. I'll be talking about the foods of health. I'll be talking about nervous system reprogramming and how you can take control of your life through taking control of your nervous system. I'll use NLP techniques in that course as well to rewire your mind and your thinking about health. So it's not just the health work you're getting, but you're getting a full and complete mind repatterning process around health and diet. And so if that'll be of interest to you, then there is a way for you to get hold of that course. If you wanted to go ahead and do that, it is a $2,000 program. And what I'm doing tonight is I'm giving people access to that course for $395 for the people who come to these programs. So because you're here, if you wanted to do a 2-day health seminar valued at $2,000, you could get it tonight for $395. So if that's of interest to you, just let me know. And I'd love to book you in for a health seminar. It's a 2-day course, 16 hours, focusing on health, focusing on you becoming the best version of yourself. You eating correctly, dieting, exercising, breathing, hydration, getting sunlight, all of the things that we need to create and maintain optimal health in our body. So if that's of interest, if you've got some health conditions, you definitely want to do it. If you don't want health conditions, you don't want to be sick in the future, then once again, you definitely want to do that as well. So that's the seminar. That's what will be coming up. I'm excited about the seminar. I really do love all the seminars that I teach. I have a soft place in my heart, though, and a special love for the health seminar. And the reason for the health seminar is, like, even though I love all the seminars, when you're talking about health, I love this idea of being on the planet, not just for a good time, but for a long time. Like some people say, I'm not just here for a long time, I'm here for a good time. No. Well, we want to be here for a good long time. And that's one thing that we can do if we focus on our health. You focus on your health, you're going to be hopefully disease-free. Well, not hopefully, because the truth is that Genetics might load the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. And so if you and I can live a more healthy lifestyle, if we can put good nutrition into our body, if we can make sure that our thoughts and our feelings, our emotions are positive, then we're going to bring in alkalizing foods and bring in alkalizing air and bring in alkalizing thoughts. And we're going to get rid of carbon dioxide. We're going to get rid of acid. We're going to get rid of toxins out of the body. And the full process of elimination of these toxins is one, your expiration of breath. So as you breathe out, you're getting rid of toxins. You're getting rid of, like we said, the carbon dioxide, but also toxins. That's the first way to get rid of these, you can see, harmful pathogens that have made their residence in our system. So we've got to get rid of them. And so that's one way to do it. Another way is through the skin. So your skin is porous. Your skin has holes and divots all through it. And your skin is a living, you could say, breathing object. We don't breathe through our skin, we breathe through our mouth, but it's porous. As you put something on your skin, it soaks into the skin. So the skin is able to absorb what's around us, what's going on around us. And so your skin is also able to eliminate waste. So waste comes out through the skin. Now and it's quite evident when people take drugs, because people who take drugs get these sores all over their body, and the body pushes the toxins or the acid out through the body. And so they start getting sores on their body. Now, having sores on the body is a sign that you've got a buildup of acid or toxins in your body, and it needs to get out. We need to release it. I've seen many people who are, drug addicts, and they have to deal with these sores. And it's actually a way to tell when a recovering drug addict relapses, then you find more of these sores on their body. And so a person who's trying to perhaps hide their relapse, sometimes you can see it physiologically, because their skin doesn't lie. And so that's one way to get it out. We're getting the toxins out of our body through the skin. Other times, though, a person may not be relapsing. A person may be just dealing with years and years of addiction, and finally the body's now ready to clean ship. The body's now ready to say, right, let's get all of this junk on the decks. Let's clear the decks. Let's throw it overboard. And that's another reason why you can have sores. So it's not always a sign of relapse, just to be clear, especially for somebody who's been using for a long time. So one way that we get rid of toxins, acid buildup in our body, is through the pores of our skin. Think of every divot in your skin as a miniature sewer, because that's what it is. And that's why, once again, we need to wash. We need to make sure that we're using soap. We need to make sure that we're getting that off us, off our body. If we don't shower for a period of time, we can begin to stink. And that's why, because we've got these mini sewers, every pore of your skin, all over your body, pushing these harmful toxins out of our body. We're getting rid of them. The next way to get rid of toxins, acid buildup, is through urine when we go to the bathroom, and the other one through our feces. So once again, the bathroom. So these are the only 4 ways we get rid of the toxins out of our body. Expiration of breath, sometimes through our nose as well. Sometimes we have, a cold. And when a person gets sick, the runny nose is the body's way of cleaning house. The body's just simply saying, let's get rid of the buildup of toxins in your body, and says you get a runny nose, you get diarrhea, you may vomit. All these things are a way of getting rid of the toxins or the acid out of the body. Now, with that said, the course and program that I teach is all about, well, how do we reduce those toxins entering our body? And there's a few ways to do it. One way to do it is through positivity. One way to do it is through excessive happiness. One way to do it, if you think about Patch Adams, he worked in a hospital, and Patch Adams would teach his patients that laughter was the best medicine. And he would get people laughing. He'd get children laughing. And as people were laughing and having a good time, guess what? The healing took place. Why? Because as you laugh, you're actually pushing out those harmful toxins out of your body. You're pushing it all out. the acid and the toxins come out through the laugh. And it's also exercise, and it's also putting you in a positive state of mind and emotion. And realize this, that we not only have toxic food and toxic air that we breathe, but we also have toxic thoughts that we think. And so one way to deal with these toxic thoughts is, like I said, excessive happiness. If you've got excessive happiness, if you've got lots of joy in your life, then you're dealing with the harmful substances that are eating away at you. And there's a less likelihood of you becoming sick or having a disease. So that's one way to do it. Now, the other way to do it is through the food that you eat, because no doubt there are foods that are more harmful and there are foods that are more cleansing to your body. And so we want to take in foods that are more cleansing. And so we want to find out, well, what types of food do I bring in? And ideally, food that's not out of a packet. You know, this isn't rocket science, but it's food that's not heavily processed. It's food that grows on the trees and in the ground. And what you want is real food that's been grown in good soil, that's going to give your body the minerals and the other nutrients that you need for optimal health. So it's really important to understand that the food that I bring in can be good or can be toxic. That I have 4 ways of getting rid of the toxins. So when I do bring some toxins in, and the truth is you're going to eat toxins. That's all part of it. You're going to drink and eat things that create acid in the body. That's all part of life and living. That's what causes us to age. So you're not going to escape it completely, but what we can do is minimize it. And if we minimize it, and if we work on getting the toxins out of the body through doing our breath work, through laughter is another way to get it out, through ensuring that we're exercising and we sweat it out through the pores of our skin. We make sure we're getting all those toxins out of our body. That's going to put us in good standing and enable us to have good health, not just here and now, but throughout our life, and hopefully a long life. And more likely, a long life if you're following the laws and principles of health, as I've outlined today. So following these principles, following these ideas is going to help you live that long, healthy, and let's hope a productive life, that you've got energy to do things. You want to help people. You want to make the world a better place. You want to provide something that's of benefit to others. You want to lift people out of the quagmire of depression, or you want to help people to move into a better way of thinking and being, even if it's just a psychological thing. And here's the truth of it. Any one of these will change you. Thinking more positively, well, that's going to benefit your health. That's going to benefit you so far as your energy, your longevity, and even your mobility. The more positive a person is, the more likely they are to, live longer. In fact, some people have bad habits. They smoke, they drink, they break laws of health. And yet they live for a long time because they've got this positivity. They've got this something inside of them. They just don't quit. They don't give up. They keep going. And they've got this mentality, this mindset, really, of like a champion mindset. And they're able to overcome these challenges. And maybe they've got strong genetics and other things, and no doubt, granted they do, yet we too can benefit from that positivity. So even if you just change that, that's going to help. Breathing exercise, that helps too. Food and diet, well, that helps too. Now, when you bring it all together, that trifecta of breathing, breath work, and making sure you have and follow these other laws of health, like good nutrition and positive thoughts and thinking, and then you start bringing other things like sunshine and exercise, and you follow the laws of health. That's going to put you in a wonderful place to have an enjoyable life here now and a long life. So as we think about the next decade or the next score, 20 years, decade being 10, a score is 20. So if you think about your future and how long you can live, you don't want to just be here for a long time. You want to live in a healthy way. You want to have longevity, mobility, and energy, vitality.